very cool individual. And I believe we've got, oh, we're off to the races. So this is a hard mode, swordless, all dungeons seed. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Both runners opting to start in Sanctuary, which is kind of interesting, actually. Green pendant at Hera. I missed what was in Eastern. I think it was a crystal of some sort. All right, so Willard opting to go make the Houlihan play. From the looks of it. Meanwhile, Ninban heading up to check a tree pull and probably check lumberjacks and head into the woods.
Yeah, I really do like the Houlihan play here, just to kind of get that early rupee or does give them a little bit more options, a little bit more flexibility with bombs, especially in swordless. He might actually have to rely heavily on those bombs to start, so I like it.
Yeah, I think the only, sort of counterpoint that's become interesting, right, is with some of the changes in V30 and the drop rates, you're so likely to get reasonable rupees. That it's always an interesting choice. But Willard now taking advantage of the fact that he gets popped right down to Link's house. Looks like he is going to go use the Southeast shop to go buy some bombs. And nothing on Hylia Island of consequence, which is always nice. You hate to be worrying about that all the whole seed. So that was kind of interesting to me. So Ninban actually opting to save and quit out of the forest drop down instead of heading down to CAC. So he's gonna go check Uncle now and presumably try and get something to help him clear more of those locations in Kakariko. Oh baby! All right, so WillardJBradley picks up the flute. The early Sahasrara visit, paying huge dividends. That's definitely a big movement advantage for Willard. I could see Ninban putting it off a little bit, although
it's definitely a great movement item to get early on, particularly with no boots right now. That flute's really going to increase his mobility in the seed and just cut down a lot of early travel time going through Kakariko and South Shore.
okay, I think we're back. Discord just died a terrible, horrible death for me. I don't know if that happened for you, Solski.
No, I was A-okay.
Great.
We do see Ninban over here making worth of that early shovel. Looks like he's going to be trying to dig up some bombs here.
Yeah, between that and the 50-50 in the bushes, it's not a bad play. It manages to pick up one.
Absolutely. Willard so far not finding anything in Eastern, but he is about to approach this hit here, and we do find that the spring ball is hitting that really.
Gotta love those joke hints. They make you feel so good when you pick them up.
As a Super Metroid aficionado, yeah, that's probably my favorite joke hint that they put in the game.
All right, so Willard, heading into one of our first dark rooms here in the run, can be a little bit trickier to do swordless, but not too bad in the end of it.
Actually, great movement throughout that room.
Yeah, it was very nice. And speaking of movement, Ninban has found the boots in the back of the tavern, so now we can play the game and have fun.
Absolutely. Probably my favorite item. I think it's your favorite item too in the game. But getting the boots here early in Kakariko really helps out Ninban and kind of equalize the advantage of Willard finding the flute. So Willard's going to be able to cut down travel by getting Kakariko and the flute charge on one, but Ninban's going to be able to dash over to that the Sahasrahla cave whenever he so chooses to go there. So it's almost going to kind of net the early advantage that Willard did score there.
Yeah, I think the big thing is going to be, depending on when Ninban goes there, we know now, right, that Death Mountain is in logic already. Whereas if Ninban tries to delay Eastern and Sahasrahla, he may be thinking that's not necessarily the place to go. And we may learn otherwise.
Right. Again, we got that So Shore, we got a lot of Kakariko still going on with Blind's Hideout and the remainder well here, so. Yo, really blue tunic too.
Yeah, that's a nice one, especially with the ever looming threat of that early Thieves Town swordless with very few hearts. It's always a concern.
Yeah, and being hard mode, that will be the only tunic that our runners will find today, and they're gonna be happy that they found that, especially in hard mode.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think with this tournament, we've seen so much hard mode. We've seen so much all dungeons. It's a very different flavor of the randomizer to what we've been watching in the past. Just sort of the more standard conventional stuff. It's kind of nice actually to see the challenge ramped up a little bit. But there are those gloves in the back of Blind's hut there, so we are well on our way.
Yeah, Ninban electing to scout out the South Shore here now with those boots in tow and the gloves. He's going to have a couple of other options with that gloves right now. He can score up the back three in the Tombstone there entrance for Escape. And as you alluded to, he could choose to maybe perhaps sequence break Death Mountain. So we'll just have to see how the remainder of the items stand out here for this early sphere.
Yeah, I think that you got to wonder about bonk rocks too. Early boots, the game, as much as we love them to have fun while playing the game gives them to you for logical reasons, generally speaking. So it'll be interesting to see when Ninban opts to go check some of those boots locations.
And then, of course, sometimes randomizer can be very illogical and put it in places like the post Moldorm 2 chest. Worst spot ever for him.
That's a great place to get boots. This is an excellent game that is never frustrating.
All right, Ninban utilizing bomb strats here in Moldorm 2, in the mini Moldorm cave here. Kind of getting a little bit of bad patterns here, but he has enough bombs that he should be okay. There we go, 3 bombs left, that's fine.
Oh baby, that moon pearl. Where's our hammer? Okay, well, that's the other hammer. Great.
So interesting so far. They are still traditionally weaponless. They do have bombs, but in the sense of defeating a boss right now, they don't really have any real tools available to them. So we might see a seed where Dark World Dip might be required to find like a hammer or the Red Cane, something that will allow them to do damage to enemies.
Absolutely. I think that getting the Titansmiths as your first Dark World access is always a little bit interesting. You kind of want it to be the hammer on account of it giving you a little bit more access to more of the overworld. But this does kind of shift things a little bit with that potential Death Mountain sequence break. we do get a little bit more out of that trip, including some extra information about the Turtle Rock medallion if needed.
Right. Speaking of babies, Ninban actually just set up the Jesus Dash here for checking out and scouting the Uncle Check, or I always call him the Uncle, the Hobo Check island, and it's actually looking like he's just going for the waterfall chest as well.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go grab the waterfall chest, probably just go scout what's on the island because he didn't do the double water walk setup. But it is a great way to speed up all of those early water checks if you're gonna do the sequence break.
You know, that's actually good routing, just to keep that speed with the boots on the water there.
Yeah, I know. I think it was just bombs over there on the ledge. I know Willard is pretty fond of this play as well. And these are definitely two runners that have watched each other quite a bit. So it would not surprise me to see that Ninban might be metagaming a little bit here and assuming Willard is doing this.
And also, just kind of looking at the items here too, assuming that Ninban does elect to just take those Titans and Moon Pearl into the Dark World right away, it looks like he's going to be kind of steered around the fleet for now. That could potentially be a bit of an edge for Willard here, because once he does find his Titans, he will have that advantage of being able to check out the Mire area early if he so
Absolutely.
chooses.
Yeah, that Mire area is really interesting. It actually, for quick overworld vocations, it has a sort of shocking number of logical requirements. And depending on which school of thought you subscribe to about the Randomizer, you may be inclined to believe that there's a higher likelihood of good stuff there. There is our lamp. So one way or another, Death Mountain is now in logic. But it looks like we are going to get that back of escape check. Not going to be doing bonk rocks right now, which leads me to wonder, assuming we're saving and quitting out of here, it'll be interesting to see what his plan is afterward.
Interesting to note, no key in the back three either, so he couldn't chase that lamp for the Dark Cross room. So if he does want to go there, potentially if the small key's not there, he will have to go the vanilla entryway.
You know, it's always a little bit of a pain. The flip side is that you're not, Hyrule Castle is always such an easy place to orphan, two chests or two items, and it's kind of a double-edged sword here. We don't get to do it quite as efficiently as we might like, but on the flip side, the incentive to go back is a little bit less annoying if it comes to that.
I was kind of wondering if Ninban was going to do this just because of how he routed in the bonk rocks, but I think we're going to get our first check of the... Oh, no, never mind, we aren't. I was going to say for the Lumberjack Cave.
Yeah, interesting that neither runner has checked that yet, especially with those early boots. You got to be wondering about what's going on over there.
Well, look at it this way. They have all the requirements for Agatower right now in the Bugnet, Moon Pearl, boots, and lamp.
That is true. Swordless Agatower, definitely a little bit of a trip. The majority of the requirements are actually just about destroying that barrier. The lamp is kind of incidental.
Yeah. And also, as a seasoned veteran of Swordless Agatower Climb Deaths, I can tell you it's not the most fun experience in the world, so I can feel them not wanting to check that right away.
Yeah. Now Willard going all the way to Zora. So we'll get a quick look at what's going on here. This could be interesting. Oh, baby. All right.
Oh, baby.
Wow. Okay, so on Ninban's side, we've got the Fire Rod and Spectacle Rock. And on the left, on Willard's side, we have a conspicuous hammer on Zora. Muchas gracias.
That's a big find. Yeah, Willard's gonna be thanking Zor for that one.
Yeah, he's probably, wondering whether Ninban got that as well. But that's a pretty substantial advantage. That's a real weapon with no ammo constraints, and we've now got a bunch of things open to us that are much easier to do.
Yeah, I guess right now in the early game, the early story is when is Ninban gonna route that in? And he gets the right cane from Sick Kid here, so now he has a weapon to deal with certain bosses.
Yeah, both runners equipped in various ways to go take care of Blind. Ninban able to knock out Skullids if we need to. I always love to see from runners, because I do the exact same thing. That little debate shuffle that you do after you take that warp. And what you're doing is you're deciding, am I going to go do Skullwoods first, or am I going to go do Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town first? And I don't know anybody who doesn't have that little moment of hesitation every time.
Most definitely. I think it's because there's a lot more options to Dark World entry than I guess a lot of people let on. I mean, the majority, I guess, would go for that classic Thief's Skull play, but there's definitely other options available, especially with the hammer, and Willard's kind of showing one off right now with the Hype Cave into Pyramid Check. Let's see, and yeah, he is going to route in Quakefish here as well. I really like this play. Same.
I think, it's one of those things where it's not so much about it being particularly efficient, it's more that there's no more efficient time to do it than when you're doing this. So definitely a smart thing to be taken care of. That book in Skullwoods is kind of interesting.
Definitely interesting in the sense that, yeah, now it's another dungeon that Ninban can go into now and clear, but I mean, Willard's a mirror away here from being able to accomplish that as well. And with Swamp Palace being a crystal, we know we are going to be able to find the mirror in the overworld or dungeons before GT.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, don't use that golden bee, Ninban.
Yeah, so Ninban opting to just go ham on the Gibdos there, and then just casually lamplight the torches.
So I hope everyone loves D-strats, because right now Ninban, that's the only way he's gonna be able to kill Mocula, with a combination of fire rod shots and this golden bee. And what he's actually going to do here is he's going to probably spend his fire rod shots, and then he's going to switch to release the golden bee, and then he's going to switch to his bug net. Basically let that bee damage the moth for a bit, and then he's going to recapture so he can reuse the bee. Oh no, he let the bee go!
Ruh-roh.
Oh no, and yeah, the moth did take a lot of damage there too, so on these spikes there. So unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of hits on there either.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Those B strats are pretty slick. It's a pretty cool little low percent. I don't know if I would call it a trick necessarily, but it's definitely a finicky little thing that you can do.
Absolutely. Alright, so Ninban setting up his death warp here. Looks like he's going to be done with Skull. Be interesting to see where he kind of takes this next. I imagine Village of Outcasts and the Thieves. And Willard here going to be checking out the Lumberjack Cave now.
I am really glad to see somebody checking this. But it's just a red rupee.
Yeah, because he has everything now. Like, he has that hammer as well that he can kind of go ham. He's like punching the air. He's like, yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. Now, I do believe that this is all dungeons, so we will be doing Aga no matter what. But for anybody who is not aware, when you beat Aghanim, the overworld kind of gets leveled up. So if you don't have to do Aghanim early, it's always nice to put it off until late, so that you're not dealing with like additional projectiles at the South Dark World Warp and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It becomes this instance of when do you want to do that, right? Like you said, if there's worth there, you kind of want to tackle that right away or route it in. And if it's a situation where there's nothing there, you can just probably tackle it right after you deal with G Tower.
Yeah, it's actually because we know we're going to have the mirror, it's going to be incredibly convenient for them to route that in, which is nice.
Alright, so Willard up here in Death Mountain scouts out that cape on Spectral Rock, and he's going to get his Fire Rod.
So Willard, with the advantage of that, he has an extra bottle, and he's also got that flute. So he may opt to go pick up a couple green potions, which will make that moth fight actually pretty trivial.
I do believe he got one from Hype Cave as well. So he already has.
Was that a
one.
yeah?
Yeah.
Was that a green? Okay.
I believe so. Yeah. Ninban has to be a little cautious here. Half a heart, even though he does have blue mail, pretty much everything here in the overworld will one-hit KO him at this point.
Right like that.
Yeah.
All right, so Willard heading into the Dark World over here near Village of Outcasts. We'll see what order he opts to do this stuff in.
I think for him it's pretty free, right? Like getting that hammer is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in the location it was. So it looks like he's just gonna go pure vanilla Skull into Thieves at this point. And he's gonna be unopposed. So like if there's something in Thieves Town playtest, he'll be able to route that in. He won't have to deal with the nuances of say like a Red King blind. He can just do everything like regular strats for Swordless if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean I think the interesting thing is that having the Red Cane, it's always a little bit easier if you're doing hammer blind for the script to go a little bit askew.
Yeah.
Having that Red Cane definitely makes dealing with the off-script version of that fight a good bit easier. So nice to have both options for sure.
I'd agree as well. The question I would ask you is, do you think that finding that Red Cane is going to put Ninban a little bit further away from that hammer?
That's an interesting question. Oh gosh, I mean, I don't think the Red Cane is really gonna do it. I think it's just, I don't think he's gonna want to go at all. I would not be surprised if he last locations that hammer, and just given the way that he's been routing in general, I wouldn't be surprised if that, regardless of whether we had the Red Cane.
Yeah, just really unfortunate item placement for sure.
Yeah, so Willard about to head back into his Mothula fight with that green goo. It's going to be a good bit easier, although he does have to be careful about his magic usage on the way back here. That's going to be a little bit interesting. So he's opting to go for the strat that I generally go for, which is to kill a couple of them and fire rod your way through the torches for the rest. For a second there, I thought Willard was actually trying to go for some like neat iframe strats, but I think he just walked into the wall.
Willard strats. It's a
You
pretty
know,
good fight
very
actually on the back end of it.
And not really relying on that fire rod at all. I know Willard's been grinding a lot of swordless and pretty clean hammer Mothula fight.
Really well done there, and he kind of showcased how you kind of want to approach the Moth fight if you have the option to, because we all know Moth can be notoriously kind of trolly with his movements and where he places himself. But if you're able to get that down hammer on him and get him to like the lower portion of the map, you want to try to keep him there as much as you can. Willard did that to a T, so it was good to see.
Absolutely. And yeah, as some folks in chat were noticing, we did get a really clutch hint in Thieves Town letting us know that, in fact, the boots are in the Kakariko Tavern. I don't know if either of our runners will be heading there anytime soon, but... I think 98% of the hints that I get are for things I've already checked. It's good times.
Yeah, same. I mean, there's been a few experiences I've had personally where they've just been like absolutely clutch.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Wow, you 30 minutes off my race, thank you. But yeah, it's always good to get like Moon Pearl. Like you're like 4th dungeon and it's like Moon Pearl is here.
Yep, for sure. So Ninban making pretty efficient work of this Thieves Town so far. We haven't really found anything of note, but we will be able to full clear it. Looks like we will be getting the big, or not. Oh, maybe we've already found everything. It would surprise me a little bit with that key.
No, he has the mapping compass.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. Oh, he doesn't have the hammer yet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the.
Got him.
Well. I think at this point you gotta hope for a hint letting you know that some cash is blocked by the hammer in Thieves Town.
No, he's having like a good fight too with this Red King. Nicely done.
Yeah, that's the Samaria strats on blind are a lot of fun to watch and pretty fun to do as well.
Yeah, I really liked the end of that fight when he just the second and third hits were on that last phase was just dropping the block and then firing the block. So again, like you mentioned earlier, the Red Cane fights can definitely be smooth, but I guess it all depends on how you handle it.
I think most things with blind, whether you're on script or not, are really about finding a rhythm, and just kind of staying one step ahead of him. The one thing that'll get you is when those lasers start shooting. Those lasers are pretty ruthless, but Ninban doing a great job of getting around there.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so Ninban opting to go do dig game. I wonder if he's intending to go pick up the Smith and maybe work that in with the save and quit.
I think if he just passed on that for now, yeah, definitely could see that option. He doesn't have the mirror, but taking that to hype cave, he might want to rev that back in.
Yep.
His options.
I mean, with the boots, it's a quick turn in. I mean, I think that's those early boots, really impact a lot of this stuff because suddenly even that save and quit play doesn't actually take that much time.
Yeah. And there you have it. He's grabbing the Smith.
Yeah, I think for Ninban this whole race, I'm expecting the real question to be, when does Ninban go get the hammer? And I think it's going to be a while.
and it's a story of like when he gets the hammer, and I think it's a story of what he does with that hammer afterwards too. Like, does he go back to Thieves? Does he have all these kind of off-put checks now that are going to kind of compound his routing experience, right? Like, he has hammer pegs now as a kind of an orphan square by getting the Smiths and Purple Chest, and also has of course, the Thieves Town Big Chest, and also that Super Bunny sprite on Willard's side is just spectacular.
That is one of my favorite bunny sprites in all of A Link to the Past Randomizer. The Homer sprite in general is just super duper good. I love the facial expressions.
Yeah, it's my first time seeing that Super Bunny sprite. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, tune in to Willard's stream where you can often hear him singing the "I Am Evil Homer" song when he gets Bunny Beam. All right, so Willard making his way through Thieves Town here. Willard has no such issue with checking the Thieves Town Big Chest, so we will find out whether that's going to end up affecting Ninban or not here. Now, that doesn't mean that Ninban won't be deathly afraid of what was in that chest for quite a while. So it may still affect his route, but we'll find out if he needs to go back and check it.
Blue Blotto on Ninban aside from the Smiths there.
Very nice. Willard going to go get the best hint that we've seen so far. Dope.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Willard hasn't elected to check out Meyer area yet. I know he's not going to when he's already elected to do Skull into Thieves, so he's in the midst of that route and that play. I'm just a little surprised he didn't elect to check it out.
I think it's got to be soon after, though. You know, I mean, those are such quick checks to do. I believe we're gonna need to do Meyer no matter what, and so getting that early medallion knowledge can definitely be helpful.
And there's not a whole lot else he can do right now either. I mean, in his position, I guess he can dip pod. A little advantageous too with the hammer minus the bow. He could potion glitch it. With that book, it's more reasonable. Desert Palace with the crystal might be the play.
I mean, I think heading into desert is a good play no matter what. But if we don't find the bow early or early-ish, I think that potion glitch is probably in our pretty near future.
Yeah, think about how we didn't have the potion glitch just back in the old days of Rando. How that actually compound your decision making is you usually would kind of off-put pod because it's a huge risk reward scenario. But now with that potion glitch, it really softens it up, and it makes pod like a much more attractive play.
I think
now,
I think the flip side of that. Okay, something is going to be on Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, that's a good hint right there.
I do. Okay, here we go. What's in this big chest?
Oh my god, no.
Well,
no.
Okay, that is two pretty crucial items in two places that Ninban is not going to be happy about. That is very unfortunate for Ninban.
That literally was the worst item you could have seen there if you're like Ninban. Honestly, that's pretty brutal because he's gonna go up to Death Mountain and he's gonna do all that. So going back to the pod thing for a second, I think what's interesting is that you always run the risk with some of these very easy sequence breaks to do that allow you to full clear dungeons when they might not logically be clearable. Kind of like the Ice Palace bomb jump, they sort of become your notion of the default way that a dungeon should be completable, and it's really easy to forget what you're actually sequence breaking there. So I've seen a lot of runners get themselves into trouble, by diving too deep in pod, getting something good, and it's a really easy sequence break to lose track of. It is for sure. But again, like just putting ourselves in the scenario of this. I would say Floating Zora versus a pod dip. I can see Ninban going pod first.
Absolutely.
With Zora, absolutely. he does have the rupees for it now, he could think, hey, I might want to check this out because it wasn't really spear and it might be something I need. He might not even think it's hammer. It could be something like a hook shot or a mirror in his head too, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So Ninban making good use of Samaria here to deal with these popos. It's always interesting to see what people come up with for swordless strats.
Yeah, and he does have that blue potion he can utilize as well. He won't have enough magic currently with either Red Cane or Fire Rod, but with that blue potion, he should have more than enough.
Yeah. He can even miss, I think, a few times with that blue potion.
Oh, yeah. He's going to have to wait it out. He's trying to menu here, but he has to wait out for the death animation there. There we go. Oh, yeah, it's hard mode. That's right. So the potions actually don't refill all the way in hard mode. Green potion, I believe, is half, and blue potion, half magic, and I think the max is 7 hertz in the red potion and the blue potion. So definitely amps up the difficulty there with how your safeties are utilized. All right. Willard getting the Smith here, probably going to cash him in, has that hook shot in tow. Let's see what he does after he deals with the Smith here.
Yeah, I mean, Willard has a much more interesting trip up Death Mountain ahead of him. It's a little bit annoying without the mirror, because he's going to have to do a save and quiet at some point in the middle of it if he goes Dark World first. But I'm expecting he'll go full clear Light World Death Mountain and then dash back over. I mean, with full hookshot cave access, it's so many items that he's got access to over there.
I mean, right now, the number is actually 17 locations he has available to him, so it's crazy. 8 in East Death Mountain, 6 in Dark World Death Mountain, Ether, and 2 in Hera. So again, and if you want to even count in Green Pendant, that's another item on top. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
I imagine we'll definitely see progression there. It's just what we run into at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we've got on Willard's side at least, we've got all of our kind of major movement tools out of the way. So, really it's just about cleaning up all the dungeon weapon requirements. I think a bow would be pretty nice for Willard right now. That would be a nice flow for him to follow.
Now, that being said, the play that Ninban's doing right now could be the great equalizer, electing to do Escape now. We haven't seen this on either runner's side, nor have we seen the Dark Cross. So if one of those items turns out to be the bow or the mirror by chance, that's definitely what he needs to kind of try and get back in this race here.
Most definitely. Yeah, I mean, Willard has so many options available to him. Escape is unlikely to be on his radar for quite okay. There's the ice rod on the purple chest. So good. Oh my gosh. All right.
Oh man.
Ninban is
desert too. Wow.
Yeah, Ninban is running out of equalizers. Okay, Ninban getting very aggressive with that Death Warp setup, going all the way to half a heart before popping the ball and chain guard, and unfortunately just getting a little rupee for his trip in. With the Death Warp, we will be seeing the Dark Cross chest, though.
Now Willard getting that hint. So unique item can be a variety of things as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be progression. Important to note. So having that hint kind of puts him on level of information with Ninban there, but it might not be progressive at that point.
Ninban demonstrating those NMG snake avoidance strats there.
There it is, Flippers, nice
All right.
equalizer.
I mean, I'm thinking about Swamp. Swamp has a lot of opportunity for progression if Ninban can manage to get the hammer and the hook shot. Then if Willard puts off escape for too long, that could be good for Ninban. But I don't know. There's a lot in between him and actually capitalizing on that.
Yeah. Ninban here going for the back three. We'll have to see what he decides to go from there. Flip side again, I think that's a good place to hide Flippers. Dark Crossroom is probably one of the last locations on Willard's mind right now. He has that hook shot. So many things he can do right now. So again, that's still got a race on our hands, right? So it's good.
Yeah, I mean it's randomizer. You never know what's gonna happen. This is one of those situations, though, where you'd like to believe that those flippers are going to lead you to Zora, but we've had Zora via the mitts forever. Ninban has fully orphaned Zora himself. His only hope really is to find the mirror and tag it with Catfish, I think, when it comes to having sort of a reason other than last locationing to get over there.
I agree there. It just strengthens the play on that point, and it makes it kind of a better option than maybe that pod dip, or even at that point with the flippers, he knows he has access to Pendant Ice Palace, which hammer can be there, but very rare circumstances. And in his situation, like he's just exercising a lot of locations in his head and still hasn't run in his hammer. He actually might. He could actually decide to go there too. So.
Yep. Going into Ice Palace without the hammer is always a little bit dicey. And he knows, barring the hammer, he's fully capable of completing that dungeon. Certain parts of it may be out of logic, but if he had the hammer, he knows he can do it. Without it, it's like, you're forcing a double dip, mandatory. And that's a tough decision to make unless you're pretty desperate.
That's a good point, because again, if he feels behind, he might elect to make the play as well.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Willard taking care of the Lamo orbs in good fashion there. Also now takes the crystal lead 3-2 versus Ninban here. Ninban kind of going through Eastern Palace here, trying to locate. Looks like he's definitely still seeking out that hammer for him. And Willard's playing very safe, if I may point out too. Does have that hook shot, yeah. But he's not leaving any stone unturned right now. He's definitely, I don't want to risk it.
I think the thing with these all dungeons seeds, you have to do so much anyway. I think a lot of runners have been picking these. Largely the runners who feel like they might have an execution advantage on their opponent, because you have to do so much and there's always an incentive to dive the dungeon. You can rely on your opponent also checking quite a bit, and if you can actually just execute every little bit of movement faster than your opponent, you are probably going to be doing pretty well. So Willard is going to give us that Meyer area check. So I didn't catch the medallion. Hopefully our tracker did.
It was quick.
Great. Okay, mushroom is interesting.
So mushroom does have the option for the fake powder glitch, which I know Willard is very fond of, and it also allows him just to do the vanilla cash into the witch's hut. And wow, Willard going for escape right
Dear
now.
God,
That is again.
This is some galaxy brain stuff right here. This is,
he's got a strategy, and it's got to be, again, just play safe and just rely on what I got. And you know what, it's singing for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing an all dungeon seed, playing to full clear is not a bad play. It's actually a good one. So You know, I really, really like what he's doing, actually. I like that he's going really thorough, clearing world regions. Okay, never mind.
Oh, there it is. And he's not going to powder glitch either. He's just going to cash it in. You know what? He might reset actually from there. We'll have to
He
wait and see.
could,
'Cause
actually,
he didn't get anything obtainable from Uncle's, so he might actually reset
Yeah.
out like what he sees.
We'll see if this is questionable plays or again. Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, there we go. Galaxy Brain. Now go into escape.
Definitely. I think that's what he did, was he paused to wait and see what he can do with that mushroom, and I know he's fond of that powder glitch, so he didn't want to give up that mushroom. But hey, he's actually he's running around the flippers. There we go. I mean, he can come back with it, so
he definitely can. I mean, I think the interesting thing now is that you know, the ending of these runners races could end up looking very, very different. You know, with Willard last dungeoning Swamp potentially, but we will see.
yeah, I'm thinking either bow or mirror up here. I think mirror probably is a good item to kind of generate up here in the mountain, just because we do have that hookshot hammer flipper combination that we know of.
Yep, agree.
Like Palace open to them as well that we mentioned. But again, I'm really looking for that mirror if I'm coming up here right now. It's a bonus too if they were able to run into T-Rex Medallion, just because they're already up here.
Yeah, I think whatever we're gonna find up here, we're gonna end up finding in Hookshot Cave. I think that's where it's gonna be.
I do think for Ninban's case, it's probably better that mirror is up here, because then it just routes him faster to that Thieves Town Big Chest.
Yep.
Because if it isn't up here, then it's gonna be a long time before he decides to say it's worth the time commitment to go back, because it's about a minute 30 with boots going from warp to the dungeon and that chest, so it's quite substantial for one item.
Yep. So with the hammer, Willard does get to actually properly extract an item from this tablet, and is rewarded for his efforts.
That big 20 though.
The biggest of 20s. It's totally worth.
I do believe it looks like Ninban's about to get his revenge on Moth here as well.
Yep. Willard's still definitely going to be holding on to a compass. Requires the hammer. Intriguing. I think at this point that kind of has to be Swamp.
It could be GT as well.
It's true. Yep, good point.
Actually, a lot of the times that hammer hint does appear, it is more than likely GT, just because of the amount of checks.
Yeah, that left side GT is pretty potent. Okay, getting that. Oh,
Ooh.
all right.
And he's up there too.
Yep.
Is that the mirror? And then after that, he's going to go right to the pose, because he knows another unique item's there. So we could see a really quick chain here.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, you know, he's certainly playing smart and playing conservatively, but you know, a lot of stuff is working out for Willard right now. He's having a lot of pretty nice routes opened up for him that may not pan out, but you're always happy to be able to do, because they're just, you know, little bits of time save due to being able to group intelligently. So I forget what I didn't notice whether we actually got 2 items in here or not. We'll see if Willard heads down into the basement. Yep. So he is leaving no stone unturned, and I like this. I think that gambling in a seed like this is just kind of silly. I think these all dungeon seeds progression tends to be distributed kind of everywhere throughout. That you're required to do so much that everything can be in so many places, and there's not quite as strong of a chain bias as there occasionally is in the non-all dungeons variants.
It does open up some interesting possibilities that do occur just because all dungeons is the goal. I've experienced seeds where you'd have actually progression deep in GT just because you have like a pendant dungeon, like say a pendant TR and the medallions at like pre-Moldorm, for example.
Yep.
So it definitely does have a lot more flex in being able to churn out the items for sure.
Yep. And again, I mean, I think it's you and I have talked about this a little bit, in Discord and things like that. I think that a lot of people think that all dungeons would, reduce some of the swing or the variance and the results of these things and how things can work out. But I really don't think that it does. I think it just changes the nature of the swing. There's still very, very much a route-based and to a certain extent luck-based swing in this mode.
Absolutely, because again, it can just compound, right? Like, if you hit go mode at like 55 minutes with 7 dungeons left to do, and your opponent, like say it's Dark Cross, for example, just for the sake of argument, and then they have all these other dungeons they can do before they go to that Dark Cross, they're gonna do all those dungeons because it's progressive to their goal, right? And that's what you mentioned is why Willard's play right now, staying to that strategy of playing safe has worked out so well for him. Is it really protects him against that?
Yep. So Ninban would have really, really loved to pick up a mirror there. And we would have loved for him to do so, but that is not what is at Catfish today. So for anybody who's joining us recently, the hammer is at Zora, and Ninban has not checked it and is unlikely to do so for quite a while.
And the part 2 of that nightmare is Hookshot in Beasttown Big Chest, which Ninban has completed as well, minus that chest. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
Ninban looking like he might be going to pod right now. Probably Pyramid Ledge first, but routing back down this way looks like pod to me.
I definitely think he's going to exercise pod for where he's at, for sure.
There's an Ether Medallion for Willard. Let's see. Okay, so Meyer, we still don't know the Turtle Rock Medallion. We haven't checked that yet. If that's Ether, I gotta believe he's going in. I mean, he's got everything he needs to clear the dungeon, and it's a dense dungeon, so...
Yep. No question he wants to do it. The only crux, I guess, of that play he can run into would be if the mirror unlocks something at Mimics. That is the one true gamble. But of course, we've seen mirror in these kind of seeds play out late in TR as well. So you just got to kind of exercise what's worth at this point. Is the risk worth it?
What's it going to be? Oh, baby. It's Ether. Oh, he's not going in. Well, he needs to save and quit to get back to the light world. But... okay.
Where does he go?
Yeah, this is interesting.
Is he going to go to ice at this point? I'm thinking he will. Oh no, he's going north. Where's he going? Pod?
Oh, he might go turn in his green pendant first.
Oh, yes, that's right. We do know that is a unique item.
Oh, Ninban taking... I didn't see if that was intent. Oh my gosh. Okay, well now you go to Turtle Rock.
Oh, he's gonna go to that graveyard ledge first, probably. I would imagine. Nope. He's gonna play off for now.
Wait, nope. Maybe.
Yeah, I think he just remembered about it.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
He's like, wait a minute, the pose.
I can just hear his inner monologue right now.
Yeah. Please, you know he's quoting The Simpsons right now.
Out of all the inner monologues I've heard, I think Willard has a very distinct inner monologue.
Good call. He's also going to route in the powder glitch as well, it appears.
Yeah, I like this as a thing to take care of right now. You know, I think at this point, really, he's just looking for anything that might lead him somewhere other than Turtle Rock. You know, like the bow. You'd love, obviously, to, especially having done Hero already, you'd love to finish with Turtle Rock. I think he knows he's pretty likely to be making a lot of these checks anyway, so doing them beforehand, given that he has the boots, not really any penalty there. Meanwhile, Ninban not really finding anything so far in Palace of Darkness. We do have a bit left to check, but he is going to get you know, frozen out of here. He's not going to be able to finish the dungeon, so.
I'm not sure how the key layout in Pod has worked out, but a bow would have been very rewarding here.
That would have been pretty huge, actually.
And again, another very big equalizer for him, because he'd eventually run back into course, where he would get the hammer and hookshot combo eventually, just because he'd run out of options.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to start converging here, you know,
Yeah.
For sure.
Right, and Willard is going to exercise that Poe play as soon as he can, and we're going to see what that unique item is. Could be that that single arrow as well, which is not. I guess that's a unique item, but it's Quake.
Oh baby! All right, well.
So that's Meyer and Tiara open to him now.
All right, so we are done with medallions, which is always a nice place to be.
Yeah.
You know, having those, you know, you can be 2 out of 3. You can be as likely as you can be without it being 100%. But God, hanging, you know, having one of those medallions hanging over your head when you don't know if it's needed or not is a little bit nerve-wracking.
Absolutely. And now Willard is essentially Flipper and Bow away from go mode here.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will. The way that he's been routing, he is gonna make his way to escape at some point. He'll do ice first. He'll do Swamp Palace first. He'll do, you know, a bunch of stuff first. But he's not leaving that kind of location behind the way that he's been routing.
I tend to agree, except for the play with that mushroom, and I think the mushroom was like the perfect detour for him. Oh baby, Ninban, are you going for it? Oh, don't go up. Don't. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Let's go.
All right, this is good. This is gonna be good for him. We still have to worry about that Thieves Town big chest. That's still a hard call to make, but definitely getting this hammer, getting it going. This is a big deal.
I think, though, with getting that hammer, he doesn't have a lot of options, again, just because he's done so much of the other stuff. He might actually just go, like, right to Ice Palace at this point. And he could get rewarded for it. Like, he could run into the bow, too, which would be fantastic for him. Because, again, it's a very restrictive item. It doesn't open up that much. So, he's still in it. He's getting back in the game here. It's good.
Okay, well, we've seen a lot of things on Link to the Past Randomizer race restreams. I don't know if I've ever seen that particular technique with the bug net. But that was good.
I probably not only knew what he said to himself, but I imagine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but again, rando.
Yep. All right, so Willard gonna head into Turtle Rock. Misery Meyer. Okay.
Okay.
You know, I really
That's
like that. I love that left side Meyer hint. That's one of my favorite one way or another. It's a great hint to get, because it just allows you to pick your route up front in Meyer without having to worry about it.
Right, and particularly now. Oh, there's
Okay.
the bow. Oh my god. So again, that's, you know what? That is a great place for it to be for Ninban to catch up again, because now
Agreed.
Willard
Yeah.
has all these dungeons available to him. Honestly, now it comes down to, this is like the final question of this race, I guess, is when does Willard go to Dark Cross? And honestly,
Yep.
like, I get it. He was playing safe. He might switch gears here because he's one item away. He has what? Ice Mire, TR Remainder,
Swamp.
Odd and Eastern available to him now. I think he's.
Oh
Gonna
wait, no, he
do
didn't have
all
Swamp. Swamp is the one thing he doesn't have, but he's got a ton of progression type things that he can do, and yeah.
Whereas on Ninban's side, he actually doesn't. Like, he's gonna have ice done, and then what else can he do at that point? Like hammer pegs, and then he's gonna clue in and say, oh well, no, it's this hook shot, and you know what? Sooner or later, he's just gonna be in go. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this kind of wraps up here.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, being one item away on Willard's side from go mode, and then all dungeons seed like this at, you know, the hour mark, pretty dang good. You know, this is a pretty, as far as all dungeon seed goes, the way that Willard routed this is a pretty fast win.
And of course, Willard having the advantage right now of just being ahead in that item chain of having the one more item. He can also run into a couple of luxuries here that Ninban might miss, just having that go mode. Like Willard might run into silvers, which can only be used in Ganon hard mode, but still will make the fight spectacularly easier too. So we'll have to see how this goes.
Yeah, no, I think what's interesting, I mean, gosh, you know, I'm just thinking about what the time could be on the seed if Willard, for whatever reason, and again, I don't think he will, but if he actually did just go right to escape, right after Turtle Rock, I mean, this could be a very, very fast finish time if he did that.
I think he makes that play if he plays Aghanim first. Like, because he's already gone to Pyramid.
Yeah.
I don't see a Fat Fairy option available. No, he does with Meyer. So there's a couple of ways he can do it. You can do it with a Fat Fairy play, going to Meyer next, perhaps. Maybe looking for that kind of edge there, looking for it. Or he could do, say, Aghanim, and then route that in. But I feel like the Aghanim after GT is a much better route anyways, just because you're right there.
Yeah, no, this is a good point, actually, with this being swordless. You know, our runners are definitely going to be looking for silvers, but with so many chests in GT, you know, the question is, do you start risking a few things here? You know, left side swamp, given that that's going to be Willard's last potentially accessible dungeon. You know, it starts to be an interesting choice. Meyer is actually kind of a nice dungeon to full clear regardless, especially with the left side hint that we got. It doesn't actually take that long to go run and grab the chests. But Swamp is one of those ones where, you know, you really don't want to do that if you don't have to.
Right. And Silver's, of course, not having any requirements at all to generate. It can generate in any chest in the game. So, literally can be anywhere. And like you mentioned, it becomes a risk and reward scenario.
Yeah.
I foresee both runners kind of going for that GT play just because the 23 item locations there just a much better, you know, I guess bulk play for them to look for them. But we'll have to see how they kind of pick their spots.
Well, I mean, it's even better than that, right? You know, I mean, we've got 4 additional chests on the way up the tower.
Right.
Ninban got a little bit screwed over there in Ice Palace. Picked up the big key, was hoping to drop down and grab the big chest, but unfortunately had no bombs and also does not have the hook shot, so is unable to get to that big chest. Also without bombs, won't be able to bomb jump across the ordinarily hook shot lock section. So, you know, this low bomb count is definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, Ice Palace is like one of the most dangerous places to run out of bombs. I do believe there is a bomb refill, but it's at like the safety room before the cold steer drop. So
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's
he does
literally
have
the only place you can go.
he does have keys here, so he will be able to go the other way. But looks like he's gonna go grab this hint first. Hopefully, he remembers that he can't get across the gap. And it's a joke hint. What a jerk. Willard opting to use the Kana Burna for some reason. It does not actually provide iframes in hard mode, but I guess he just doesn't like having magic.
That it's a classic mistake, honestly, when you're flipping between normal and hard in a tournament like this. As you alluded to, Kana Burna more or less useless. Useful, I guess, in Swordless in the sense that it can be used as a weapon, but useless in the sense that it loses that magical property of invulnerability.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, Cape takes double the magic in hard mode, and Burna does not provide invincibility. However, in Spike Cave, it actually does work properly. Both items work as normal in Spike Cave, so...
That was a really sharp design idea there, just to kind of keep that in lieu with hard, just to kind of maintain the route possibilities and leave that location alive by saying, hey, Burna could be required in logic. So it's pretty cool. So Ninban having a good cold stare fight so far, by the way.
Yeah, this has been very solid. Willard running a little short of magic after going a little bit too aggressive with the fire rod. Ninban is gonna potion up here, and I think that's wise. You definitely you don't want to take a death to this boss in particular. It's one of the worst that you can die to.
Yeah, it's bad. Yo, let's go with that swag hammer dash. Making me proud.
Yeah.
Can sense the enthusiasm.
I'm very excited. Oh, interesting. Right. So Futon suggesting in chat that it actually does work on Laser Bridge. And I think that that's unfortunate.
I do too. I actually don't like that. All right. Willard looking like he's going to go to Mire now. I think he's seeking out that Fat Fairy to escape play. And that will be like exactly what he needs to do at this point.
Yeah, I think the real question is, will we find silvers along that path? You know, if he finds silvers either in Pyramid Fairy or here in Mire, that's going to be, he's going to take off like a rocket here shortly.
And Ninban, again, with that hammer not opening up a lot in the logic for him, because he's already done most of it, going right for the Siege Sound Big Chest, and this is the play he needs to make here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he, you know, interestingly enough, from a crystal, you know, just dungeon completed standpoint, you know, still one behind, but and about to be two, but
yeah,
you know, this is certainly the best play he could possibly make right now to give himself any kind of chance at this point.
So I guess with Willard's game plan, like it's quite obvious, it's the safe plays, right? He runs into Flipper's Dark Cross eventually, because I no doubt he will route that in. What does he do next? Does he risk finally and go for GT, or does he continue to check? Consequently, how behind does Ninban feel right now, and does he go first for GT?
I will not be surprised if Willard full clears Swamp for sure, if we're still missing silvers. With the boots, you know you can do it quickly, and it does save you a little bit of time to play it as a full clear if you're going to end up going back in and checking. I would not be surprised to see him skip at least one or two locations in Ice Palace. That's a costly one to route out. Pod is an interesting interesting place. I don't know. It's just one of those calls that there's our powder, which sadly does not grant him fairies. It will grant him a single heart to powder an anti-fairy.
And we do have Ninban picking up his hookshot here, just making a beeline for that East Death Mountain, Dark World Death Mountain segment. Predominantly untouched for him, as he has not had access to it, and also with us knowing that the mirror unlocks via the hookshot there with Sahasrahla. So definitely making the right play.
Yeah, Willard making good use of that hint we got for the Meyer left side, by the way. Snagging the big key and immediately bailing out of left side. Meyer's small keys are effectively useless. Yeah, good hint usage by Willard.
Yeah, the two dungeons where small keys effectiveness are severely diminished, and this goes and applies a lot more in Key Sanity is Meyer and Ice.
Yeah, now I happen to know for a fact that that Willard does not know the spooky action glitch, and it makes me deeply sad. But still, quite a nice Meyer from him. This will give Ninban potentially up to 12 seconds to catch up in Meyer.
And just because we're getting some chatter in chats regarding silvers, just to kind of strengthen the importance of it, it requires like frame perfect hammer strikes and a really in tune knack of how the timing works for Ganon on his warps to be able to damage him on that 4 cycle. So I would imagine both our runners will be desperately looking for silvers once they hit their go.
Yeah, that's not to even mention how close you have to get to Ganon in some configurations to do it, and it's a little bit dicey. I think a pretty good hammer only Ganon fight is probably 10 minutes long. So there's a lot of checks you can afford to do for silvers in 10 minutes, or I guess 8 minutes on top of a normal Ganon fight.
Yeah, you would map out, what, 45 seconds on a time save for silvers normally, depending on how your fight's going, versus a 10-minute. So yeah, exactly, you're definitely going to be readying them in quite aggressively, I guess.
Yeah, so a nice Vitreous from Willard, using a good combination of bomb strats, arrows. I think with one of the interesting new changes in V30 is that all of the ammo capacity upgrades have been removed and just replaced with ammo. So unless you go pretty far out of your way and spend money to get some capacity upgrades, you're going to be stuck at that initial capacity. So I like Willard's idea to spread out the ammo usage, make the best of what he had across the board. All right, so Ninban getting that Sahasrahla hint. Really happy to be getting it in the Green Pendant dungeon. Oh, yeah, that bumper dash.
Action, I don't mean to make fun of it. It just looked amusing to me in that sprite.
Oh no, it's tremendously funny when it's not happening to you. When you, I have lost several NMG runs to missing that bumper skip, and it's demoralizing is the word that I would use.
All right, Willard actually electing to go to pod here, so devaluing the Fat Fairy play a little bit, and looks like he's going to, I guess, option A. I was figuring for him, which was prioritizing dungeons and just start clearing him. Pod a big chunk of real estate. Rarely go modable, I guess, is a fair statement to say.
Yeah,
because it's all dependent on where that big key gens. So He has that in mind, and he's also looking for silvers, so I can see why he'd want to do this. And you know what? Come back to that whole safe strategy of, listen, still looking for silvers too, and I need flippers as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a good choice.
I mean, I think at this point, given that he came over here, we know he's going to go full clear pod. We know he's going to go finish Eastern immediately afterward. The question is, does he opt to go full clear ice prior to checking the Pyramid Fairy stuff? You know, I imagine in his mind, he would love to potentially be checking Pyramid Fairy for silvers right after doing Swamp Palace. It's a nice run up. It works out really great, but with our access to Swamp Palace being locked up there, obviously that's not an option.
I don't want to be that guy, but could you imagine silvers in the Ice Palace big chest?
Oh.
Yeah,
I can.
I really hope it's not there. Poor Ninban has kind of had enough of those.
Yeah,
so.
Ninban is paid. You know, paid his dues. I think on this race. I don't think we need to wish for that on him. That said, I can totally see it happening, and I will be sad. Willard running into a little bit of trouble in that spike conveyor room there. It's one of those rooms in the game where it's either really, really free if you don't hesitate at all, or it kind of turns into a voidy, slow nightmare in a hurry. And unfortunately, I think he stuttered a little bit at the beginning. So.
Yeah. Now, did Ninban get the hint about the green pendant?
He did. Yeah, that was in Tower of Hera. So he does have that hint. Hopefully he, remembers what it means and interprets it correctly. But Ninban, I think, is pretty up to speed on the hints. I know he's done some reading of the code and all of that good stuff. So.
And Mimics was only Bombos, so if he did elect to go right for it. Oh, he's actually going for Spike Cave. This is something we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, this is another perfectly valid silvers location, so.
Yep. And again, he's looking for a lot of items right here. He's looking for bow, he's looking for mirror, he's looking for silvers. So yeah, it's definitely a good stab just to kind of clear it.
Yeah, this is one of the few sort of regional completionist things that Willard has not done, actually. He did leave this location. I don't think he had Burna or anything at the time, but just bombs, unfortunately. Okay, so Ninban quite wisely heading straight over to go turn in that green pendant. Now, the interesting thing here for Ninban, right, is at this point, he will have access to Swamp Palace. And I will not be surprised to see him book it to Swamp Palace right now. Having just gotten access to that with, as many requirements as it has and 6 items in there, that's gonna be on his mind.
I would be, just because, again, he has TR available. For me, just in that all dungeons kind of mindset, I would like to go into TR knowing that I'm going to be hitting up a lot of these locations looking for keys, versus a Swamp Palace I might be able to.
Sure.
So we'll see how this one kind of plays out. But yeah, I guess it's safe to say at this point we know where flippers are. Willard's still chasing those. Ninban still chasing the bow, because he will be getting his quick here at the graveyard ledge. And really, the only item that we need to complete a swordless match right now is those silver arrows.
Yep. Willard doing a good job staying on top of his ammo capacity here. You know, like I said, with no, you know, it used to be in V29 and earlier, you know, by the tail end of a seed, with how many capacity upgrades there were and just random enemy drops, you had effectively infinite arrows, infinite bombs, you know, all that sort of stuff. And that's just not the case anymore. So it's definitely good to see players being on top of that and making sure that they're grabbing those arrows, knowing those pop pickups, and keeping themselves good to go. It's kind of nice. Again, to me, the ammo changes give the game, it brings it a little bit closer in some ways to the NMG speedrun, which I like. I think there's a nice you know, resource management component to the game there.
Willard utilizing another classic swordless technique here, gets through the mask on Helma, and without a sword really can't do a whole lot to the exposed crystal there, so he's going to pull out his bow and just finish off the job from there.
Yeah, now the interesting thing is actually, if you know how to do the hammer hit lineup that you would do with a sword on the crystal, that works exactly the same in swordless, but the lineup can be a little bit more difficult depending on what you use to line it up. So definitely a nice strat to pull out the bow there.
Absolutely. All right, so with 5 dungeons done, Ninban's about to run into that bow now. So this is where it gets really interesting. What does he do from here?
Oh gosh, I mean,
I think he's just gonna risk and go right for GT. Honestly, he's gotta assume and know and identify that he's in behind. Finding like last check hammer into last check hook shot.
Oh, he's definitely feeling it. No question about that.
At that point, I mean, me personally, in my experience, I would be thinking, how do I get myself back in it? And he might just have to make that play. He might not want to make that play because he's got a lot of dungeons to finish and go to, but
yeah, I mean, I think we'll see. I think we'll see convenient chests, though, right? I think that I would be shocked, for example, if we don't check the backside chests in Swamp. I think it's highly likely that we skip left side on Ninban side. You know, things like that. I think certainly the push block and you know, maybe the little south U-bend chest in Swamp are pretty no-brainer checks with the boots, I think.
Yep. He's also been to Eastern and Pod, so he just has to essentially go back to them and finish them off too. So really just down the Mire and TR here, and it is 2 dungeons. Willard will eventually run into his flippers too. It's just gonna be, again, it's when does he go there?
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, Ninban. Was it? I guess getting the lesson in hard mode about the blue cane damage values again, not providing the iframes, unfortunately. Again, it's just really it can be a very tough tournament, right, in the long run, just because there's so many modes kind of juggling around. Like every match is different, so you're always kind of remembering stuff about how seeds play out. Like me personally, like retro mode, for example, right, with how the keys work and everything, and the takeaway locations, and just balancing that with like switching from that to like swordless enemizer, or sorry, not swordless enemizer, like a swordless seed or an enemizer seed.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that this tournament is so different from the ones we've done before, just because of how, you know, kind of comprehensive it is, right? It really rewards kind of a broad skill base You know, if you're a person who's got the execution to handle very, very low percent things and also be very efficient with the boots and know how to move, you know, and also if you're an individual who knows, you know, not just the logic, but the you know, things like when you throw inverted into the mix and things like that, it changes up the efficient routing so much that the, you know, the knowledge base you need to be really competitive across the board here. Oh, Ninban taking another death to those anti-fairies, unfortunately. I think this is where, you know, if I'm Ninban right now, you know, this is where, you know, I hate to use this word, right? But this is where you're kind of, you know, your mentality about the game and your ability to kind of regroup, you know, comes into play in a big way. It's very, very, very easy to kind of get on a little tilt cycle and, you know, end up just kind of digging yourself a hole.
Yeah, I think we've both been there, right? Just going through tournaments, and even just like, even fair to say, certain like SRL matches too, right? Like just the normal
absolutely.
match, you'll have your days where it's just like nothing's working and you get frustrated, right? So, you kind of go through it, and like you said, it's your ability to regroup. And like sometimes people can, sometimes people can't. Just all in that ability.
Yeah, so Willard at this point, he's got ice left to do. With the way that he's routing here right now, I think we may be getting our Pyramid Fairy into, hopefully into escape play, which will be great for Willard if he can do it, because he will get to go mode Swamp and Ice Palace, which is definitely a nice advantage over what Ninban ended up doing. And that is a good call. I need coffee. Yeah, obviously, Ice Palace cannot have the flippers, so it will be interesting to see if we get silver arrows in here or whether we find them buried. And God, that Ice Palace big chest would be... I'm still really curious to know what's in there.
It's actually a good call. I can use a coffee after this match too.
Yeah. It's settled then. We'll both get coffee.
There you go. And nothing in the Fat Fairy location. Let's see what turns up for the bottles here from Willard's side. It's Green Potion. It's not bad, honestly. No Half Magic and a Hard Mode Seed. Predominantly will be very useful for him in something like Ice Palace and G Tower right now. So I actually don't mind that. I'd either want a green or a blue in hard mode personally.
Yeah. Okay, unfortunately... Oh, wait, no. He's like, I got the mirror. I'm going straight for the sewer. And this is going to work out for him. Although he has not done the rest of it, and he may go hunting for silvers in there.
There's those flippers. So Willard has his flippers now, and in a traditional sense, he's in a go mode, but in a swordless sense, he's those silver arrows still.
Yep, so I like this play from Willard, bailing out, gonna go directly to go do those dungeons, because this will allow him to route in the Aga 1 tower climb and fight really, really nicely at the end of the game.
Oh, I think he didn't check Waterfall Fairy, that's right.
Oh, wow.
He's gonna see that bug net, which, memes aside, is actually gonna be very useful for him in a swordless match.
Yeah, no, I mean, ordinarily, yeah. ordinarily you don't really care, but in Swordless it's actually a godsend. That Aga 2 fight with and without the bug net are very, very different in terms of how they go.
Yeah, I mean, like you can actually just line up to score like safe singles too in Swordless, but where that bug net's gonna really shine is deflecting off like the blue balls and the other energy ball if you're not like lined up properly, or you get like an impossible pattern.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of hoping, because I believe this is the way it routed out for Ninban. I'm kind of hoping that Willard ends up dropping right away onto that big chest, and we get to see what's going on there ASAP.
I mean, if silver arrows are there, I'm just gonna go ahead and call it and say this is like the most unlucky I've ever seen a runner.
Yeah, agreed.
Like we've all seen like the one-offs, right? And maybe the rare double, but I've never seen like 3 locations just completely.
Yeah, I mean it's been brutal for sure. I love that Homer spray. All the animations are so good. Every time he gets hit, you can just hear the dope.
I don't know. I'm a big aficionado of the eggplants, right? That's my favorite of the new pack.
I mean, look, you gotta. Sure.
It's honest. It's a well-crafted sprite. Like
no, it really. I've
honestly
seen it's animated well. It's good, but. Some nice arrow drops there for Willard. All right, get your big key. Show me this big chest. I want to know what is in the big chest.
Just like anything but silvers, please. He's gonna stall. Got him. No. Oh wait, he doesn't have the big key, does he? Oh, that's right. Oh, okay. Looks like he's like, nope, not doing it. So it does appear that Willard is going to go mode ice here at the, or at least half go mode it. Just not economically viable for routing around the dungeon and the time, so he's just going to go ahead and go right to Cold Sir. I doubt he's going to hold it now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Not with Swamp left out there. With its bevy of chests that are much faster to check. This is interesting. Gosh, if now I do want silvers to be in the Ice Palace big chest.
Now it's fair. I mean,
yeah, now I 100% want it. I have no problem with saying it. I want that to happen.
Again, that would be another first. Like I can't recall an instance where both runners like missed the location because of one circumstance or another, and then it turned out to be like super critical. So I'm
gonna say if the silvers end up in the Ice Palace big chest, this is gonna be the greatest interview of all time, because they're gonna be real mad, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it now. Willard's reaction will be, "Oh my god, those silvers!" Like word for word, I guarantee it.
I think you're right. I think, well, that happened. Will probably happen at some point as well.
I imagine Ninbans would be more towards the disdain for Zora right now.
Yeah, I'm expecting some sighs, audible sighs. Yeah.
All right, yeah, he's marked his line in the sand. He's going. It looks like he's just gonna. I would say he's gonna have full clear swamp. Heads or tails if he checks the bomb wall, but I definitely can see him doing like that donut racetrack, I call it.
Yeah, I mean, I think clearing the full back is a solid play. With boots, it's a solid play. It takes next to no time.
I would imagine Willard has to feel like very comfortable where he's at though. Like it's an hour 35 in swordless hard.
Oh,
and he's
in
like,
all dungeons.
He's got one dungeon left to go.
No, I mean he knows that he has routed this very well. Now, I mean the one thing that you do have to wonder about, right? I mean, you always wonder what your opponent did and whether they did the same thing. He knows he's got, solid execution and can, rely on that to an extent. But for him, those choices did just kind of line up a lot. And he looks like he's looking for the hint here. It would have been nice to get that left side swamp hint. We still haven't seen that one this seed. You don't always get it, but it is a nice one. Looks like he will be checking the bomb wall, so we may be seeing more of swamp than we were thinking here.
Yeah. I mean, push comes to shove, they will get that that hint again into if they want to press that. But I think at this point, it's just more economical for them to check a variety of locations while they're already here, just to kind of save that double back time. Because getting to gain base 4 swordless is quite time consuming as well. Whereas, like, if they're in a swamp palace, checking like the first 4 chests is like minimal compared to what the loss was.
Yeah,
rush right to Ganon.
Definitely. I mean, I do think that. I mean, how long it takes relative to a normal fight really depends on the RNG you get. If you get favorable Ganon warps, you can actually get it done in exactly the same time as you would with a tempered sword. But you do have to get favorable warps, so. All right, so Willard about to show us our second item chest here in Swamp Palace. And it's a sword.
It's another, yeah. Another rupee sword.
All right, so as expected, we're going straight to the back. I think this is the right compromise, although if he doesn't find him back here, I will not be surprised to see him run back in and clear left side swamp really quick.
Definitely think Ninban's is gonna go through full throttle here too. Heading towards Swamp Palace, does have Mire left to complete as well. Does also have that hint where the big key is. That's gonna be a very quick Mire for him if he chooses not to check any other location.
Yep, so unfortunately, backside swamp not holding those silvers. We still have Argus left to check. But we are running out of dungeon here.
And it's also fortunate for us, the viewers, because it does make the race come to an exciting conclusion now. Where are these silvers?
Yeah, we have got, I don't know, what do you want to call it? About dungeon and 3/4 lead on Willard's side here. You know, if those silvers are in the Ice Palace big chest, literally it's anybody's game if that's the case.
Imagine if Ninban does like left side and it's there. Oh my god, just
Oh my
that's
God.
like the
Yeah.
race is like back even right there.
Yep, easy.
But I really don't anticipate that at that point. I don't think that's like in his playbook.
It would
Again,
be a tough decision to make at this point, given how behind he feels and all of that. So. Alright, so Willard opting to Ice Rod Argus here for some reason.
No, there's a reason. Oh, he's trying to set it up. So, fun fact: the Ice Rod doesn't have the traditional, like, I guess you can call it traditional, timing block that the Fire Rod does, because you can only have 2 Fire Rod shots.
Yeah.
With the Ice Rod, you can actually multi-spam, so it allows for faster timing that you can actually stun lock him to death. So it's like 4 Ice Rod shots versus the 4 Fire Rod shots, but it's actually much more efficient in Swiftness.
Very cool. I mean, I knew the damage was equivalent, but I didn't know that it disregarded the timing lockout.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he stole that from me, but you know, it's all good.
Look, I mean, you are a top tier player, Solsky. Top tier. Not like that Christos Owens guy. He's got potential, but I hear he knows dark rooms, but
mediocre at best.
Not even top 20. All right. So Willard gonna be making his way right up to GT here. So we will see what happens.
All right, and on Ninban's side, he has elected to skip the left side swamp here. So it's essentially he's just chasing Willard at this point. Very similar amount of locations checked. I think the only check that Ninban really has on Willard in Overworld is that Spike Cave. So, I mean, if it was there, like, again, that would have been a huge equalizer, but we're still looking.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, I mean, okay, so if we clear GT and we don't find these silvers, what do you do? I mean, I think, you know, if it was Willard, you know, I'd be going. I guess I'd probably do the rest of Escape first, but.
So it's we've talked about it a lot, and I'm glad we have, because it's a subject that a lot of, I don't know. I guess it just doesn't get brought up a lot in how like the runner's psyche is during a race, but it's all about like time evaluation and, you know, how much time you have versus what's the right play. So you'd have 2 options. He can either look around for those silvers, or he can pop in and have Ganon kind of tell him where those silvers were, at the unfortunate cost of, you know, how long ever it takes him to get to that 4th cycle. Or the 4th phase. So would it be worth it to double dip Ice Palace versus go for the Ganon hit? I mean, that's a decision he's gonna have to make when he gets there. But I think you're right. I think he'll just end up clearing Aga once he gets back down to that pyramid.
All right, so Willard heading right here. It will be interesting. I wonder, you know, at this point, it would be funny if he goes all the way to Ice Armos. He might. He's got the arrows for it. Nice little Samaria block launch there. Wasn't quite the cool item dash version of it. He did actually dash into it afterwards, but it's still cool. I give him partial credit.
A solid 2.2 out of 10.
Oh wow, you are a very harsh judge. I feel like this gymnastics meet is rigged. I don't know what you're up to, but something is going wrong here.
I mean, he's had an excellent race. We'll be honest. Like, his execution's been really, really good, and it has improved a lot over like the last 6 to 9 months too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Shout outs to Willard. Like, he's really stepped up his game lately.
Yeah, I think from a practice standpoint, you know, I've seen Willard grinding out these hard mode Swordless Seeds more or less every day, 2 to 3, you know, every day, and that you can really see, you know, the results of it in this race. So.
And also, just not to kind of leave Ninban in the lurch again, just overall improving, I would say drastically over the last kind of 6 months as well. Both our runners have put on a really good show for us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think, you know, one thing to point out here is Ninban did not route this seed badly at all. You know, this is just one of those cases where you make one divergence early on, and everything you do after that makes sense. It just wasn't right, you know, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
Like, in that whole scenario, like, he wasn't making any wrong plays. It was just unfortunate that like that's how the seed worked. And like, the viewer base has probably heard the term randoed a lot, and that's like a classic example of how the seed can just turn on you. And again, it's unfortunate it happens specifically in tournament play. You always want to see those races close and everything like that, but it is what it is, right?
Yep, absolutely. All right, what is Ice Armos going to have for us today? And Bob's Chest, but...
Is it going to be Silver's Big Key of the Dream?
I mean, that would be
Silver's Big Chest Dream.
Yeah, I want Silver's. I do want Silver's Big Chest. I just want Silver's Ice Palace Big Chest. I really want it to happen.
Let's see what we get here. It's gonna be the Big Key. Oh no, it's Tyler.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, you gotta go check the big chest afterward too.
Yeah, and that's like you gotta route around it too. You can't just go right there. You have to go around the room again. That's unfortunate. It's like the one circumstance you would care that it's in the tower room at this point. And going right without like the safety of, say, a blue cane really is difficult with the I call it the worst room in the game for Link to the Past personally, because it kind of is, but
yeah, I would agree.
All right, so I guess it's safe to start recapping some locations we haven't seen, and honestly, very few and far between. The ones that come to mind for me: Pedestal, Ice Palace Big Chest, and the GT, I think is it.
Okay,
I
so
can
Willard
drop it
heading up. He is not
combos.
going to go check the big chest, just FYI. So
I think that's the right amount of risk.
I mean, I
Again, for that
agree.
time constraint.
I agree, but this is now 2 big chests that we have out in the world, both of which are time consuming to get to.
Yeah.
Both of which could contain the silver arrows.
Ninban actually having a little bit of problems with his fight here. He does have a blue potion, which he is going to use good, just because you take fatal damage from the lightning here. Has one more eyeball to deal with, and he's have to hammer down the big eyeball. So it's going to be a little more time consuming on his end to finish off this fight and enter into GT. I was gonna say this eyeball's just not cooperating, but there it is. Gives him a good pattern there.
Yeah, when you get down to those last eye or two, if you're trying to do hammer strats on them, their movement just doesn't necessarily cooperate, and the lightning and everything hits like a tank. So,
oh man, you do not want to miss hammer strikes either, because then it just puts them so close to you, and if you don't have a lot of space in there along the wall, and you kind of pin yourself against the wall, it can be bad news. But Ninban handily finishing off the fight. Good work for him.
Willard got to watch out a little bit here. I believe he has potions, yeah, but this is not the most comfy heart count right now.
Surprised he's not exercising the powder there, actually.
I mean, with it only gives you 1 heart. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, sorry. Whoops.
Yeah, I mean, I
think there we go.
I think in that particular case, you would rather be a heart down than have to deal with the pattern that results from grabbing it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That honest, there you go. There's that whole you're juggling so many different variations in your head.
Yeah, I think when you start doing things like retro inverted and stuff like that, it's just your brain starts to melt a little bit.
Absolutely. That's why I'd say this has probably been one of the most fun tournaments I've been involved with, just because, when you prep for tournament, you're always usually like grinding out the one mode, right? Like beat standard or open. And now you have just so many varieties just to kind of, I don't know if prep for would be a good term, just because there's so much variety that you can't really prepare, but just be aware of how things work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about, in past tournaments, it's always been about, getting sort of optimal, at a particular thing and really breaking it down. And here, I think it's more about, I don't know, competency. I think it's about having enough general knowledge to be able to adapt, because there's just no way for you to train yourself up for every single scenario you're going to encounter before you have to run that race. It's not feasible. So you really just have to be kind of a generalist. Okay, it's still no silvers.
Is it going to be post Moldorm the Dream?
I mean, that's I may have made a decision to put silvers on the post Moldorm 2 chest. I happen to like that decision a great deal.
I probably would have hovered past it personally, but
yeah, well, you're one of those jerks.
It's just a heart. So yeah, silver's abroad.
Oh my goodness.
Let's round it down. What was it? I said pedestal, ice palace, big chest, swamp left side. I guess I should add that.
Yeah.
And in bombos. I don't think anyone's checked bombos yet. I could be wrong, but I don't recall it.
Trying to remember if Willard. No, I think Willard went over there. I think Willard went over there.
Oh, to Bombus?
I think so. I seem to recall him walking back into the portal there. So.
Oh, I forgot the most hilarious one of all. It could be the big chest.
Yeah.
In GT. And they still do have one more dungeon to both complete as well. Ninban actually, I feel, was a lot of time up. Again, just speaking to his execution as well, but
yeah, no kidding.
Still do have Aghanim's Tower to complete. So we'll see what Willard does here. If he elects to, call it a day and fight Ganon and see if he can find out where settlers are, or if he's just going to go to finish Agha Tower. And he's mirroring, so yeah, he's going to go for the Agha Tower play. Oh yeah, that's right. He didn't do the remainder of his game. That makes
Unfortunately,
sense.
we know they're not in here, but
also, curiously, Ninban routed almost identically to Willard as well, so he's going to get his big key from Tile Room, presumably last, and then he'll have that decision to make if he goes for that big chest or not.
Yeah. So I think one good thing that Willard has going for him is that the 3 locations basically that we will have for this these silver arrows after doing this, they are all uniquely identified by Ganon at this point because they are both either dungeons that he names by name or Light World. So that is nice. Actually, I don't know if Willard did Spike Cave, so that would be Dark World, but
yep.
Still, all uniquely identified. So
again, it's just, do you want to risk the time and pick one of those locations? I feel like Pedestal's pretty free just for the time spent, but or do they just kind of suck up, deal with the 2 or 3 minute, if optimal, to phase 4, and then get that hint and go from there?
Yeah, it's an interesting call. I think it. In Willard's case, he's got a 25% chance basically of picking right. If he's confident enough, he may feel like it's worth it. Certainly, if he's considering going back into ice or anything like that. Because remember, Willard does not just have the big chest in Ice Palace. He's got quite a bit of ground to cover in there. So. All right, so I gotta say, Ninban making a little bit nicer work of those ice armos than Willard did. A bit cleaner. Meanwhile, Willard making nice use of these pots here to get these rooms done at least damage free. So Willard opting to farm a few hearts there in the Circle of Pots room, as we call it. It's a pretty heads up decision. Ordinarily Agha 1 not really scary at all, but In Swordless, it can be a little bit worse. Now, he does have the bug net, so it shouldn't be really bad at all. But if he's not thinking about it for some reason, or if he's worried about it, or, you know, whatever, I don't know, he may have forgotten that he gets the refill after this fight. All right, Willard off to a good start here with the Saga 1 fight. Getting some really tight timing on those hits and no blue balls so far, which is pretty fortunate. And there's our first win. Some people talking about the caster commentator curse. I'd just like to point out that this tournament is run on a 20-minute delay. So apparently, not only am I a witch, but I'm a time traveling witch. So that's super impressive.
The timeliness of witches, and Willard's going in, so he's gonna want to grab that hint now. He's just like, no, just tell me. Got a very favorable pattern there for phase 1 there. Gonna jump right into phase 2. Not the best of patterns for Swordless, but it is gonna open up a left to right hammer, which is actually, I would say, the safest positioning to kind of get the hammer response down.
No question, especially with Ganon's hitbox. Ganon's hitbox is deceptively generous.
Yeah, massive hitbox, honestly. And there you see is the bats can be very misleading as well, and that up hammer strike, you actually lose a little bit of spacing when you go for those up hammers too. So again, you want left, right, or down in this fight.
Oof. Okay, so Willard on 1 heart. Gonna try not to use any potions or anything here.
I mean, he's through the hard part. Like, he just has to be careful with his positioning and trust those like left to rights and the downs at this point, and just not worry about anything else. And there we go. So okay, we're about to get the hint.
Glorious.
Yeah. So we now know where the silvers are. All right, Emo, where are they? Where are the silvers?
Well, Solsky, I'm glad that you asked. We are heading to. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are going to go enjoy some pedestal hype. I know everybody here on Speak Gaming Chat loves these ped seeds, and the game gave you what you wanted today.
Yeah, this is like a Costco brand seed. You really got a lot of value, bang for your buck, honestly.
Wow, it is the Kirkland seed. That is that is incredible.
Is the Kirkland feature.
I got a shipping size pallet of Diet Fanta and like 22 pounds of buffalo mozzarella and some silver heckin' arrows.
Yeah.
It's a good day at the Costco.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fantastic.
My goodness. All right. Well, with that, Willard should have no trouble cleaning this up pretty quickly here. Gonna grab this fairy. Just a smart play. Just make it that much easier for him.
Yeah, absolutely Willard's race to lose at this point because he is the Agate Tower climb and G Tower finish ahead, and most importantly, he does have those silvers in for this final fight now. So we're gonna have to see like a lot of deaths for this to get back in track and be close. Oh, gets the baby placement too. Yeah, that's not happening anymore.
Right here.
That's the good stuff right there.
Unfortunately, losing a little bit of time for those hits at the beginning of it, but that's not going to help you. That's not going to help you.
No. Bad
do not do that.
Don't. Yeah. Okay. Oh, now he's in a... He won't take death damage if he gets hit by a bat here. It's just going to be really annoying.
He's good now.
Yeah.
Back on track. So it'll be interesting to see if Ninban also opts to go for the hint on Ganon. Oof, Ninban does need to be a little bit careful here on the Saga too. Ooh, that was
crazy.
A very misleading short warp there. That's a hard read, but Willard gets it done. All right, so with that, Willard has finished in first place with an official SRL time of something. Looks like an official SRL time of 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 36 seconds. So GG to WillardJBradley. I do believe that puts him at 2-0 so far for this group stage of the tournament. So GG's. Willard with a solid comment in the race chat, by the way, which maybe I'll ask him to talk about if we can get him in here for a bit. Hey, Willard, GG.
Hey, thanks.
Do you want to repeat your dot comment for everybody here on stream?
You know, I think the devs could really learn from this suggestion that I just wrote up. Make Silverless Hammer Ganon viable, please.
Not gonna disagree with you there.
Oh my gosh, that was nerve-wracking. Mostly because I would have been mad if I'd lost this race to Silver's being dumb. Just because I felt like I played this one really, really well. Aside from the skipping flippers for I thought it went really, really well. Just making the right choices, like getting Hammer from Zora and then getting Fire Rod from Spec Cave before finally going to the Dark World and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think that we were I don't know. By the end of it, I was kind of hoping that we were gonna get silvers in the Ice Palace big chest because both of you actually skipped that. Ninban got everything else out of the dungeon, but did not get that.
Oh, really?
Ninban, unfortunately, ended up routing the early game a little bit different than you, and as a result, did not get to Zora for quite a long time.
You missed the hookshot in Thieves Town for a while?
Yeah.
Okay, so I figured, because that is such an easy thing to do, and when I got the hammer, I was like, oh my gosh, if there better be something good in Thieves Town Big Chest. And when it was hookshot, I was like, I'm sure Ninban didn't get this.
Yeah, it was. Ninban, unfortunately, sitting in a little bit of a Ganon death loop here. Somewhere we've all been, TBH, and it always sucks. So GG to Ninban for continuing to push here. But I don't know. So I definitely agree that you played that super well. I mean, a lot of things kind of lined up for you. Solsky and I spent a lot of time talking about. It seemed like you were definitely playing. Not necessarily safe, but definitely consistently, conservatively. Not making a lot of big plays, but just making a lot of solid plays. Was that an intentional choice for you going into the race, or just something you settled into, after things started to kind of go the way that they were early on?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the plays that I made early that paid off, like early flute, the early hammer, early fire, all that stuff kind of allowed me to play a little bit more safe and like full clearing stuff instead of just like jumping around and knocking out. It was working out, so I was like, all right, this is good. And then towards the end, I was like, at the same time, it's like you full clear a bunch of stuff and still not find the silvers is really frustrating. And I, towards the end, I was just like, all right, I have everything I need. I was so close to considering doing Swamp and then going to GT and like trying to get the hint from Ganon before even touching Ice. But then I realized, thankfully, from making that mistake last night, that you have to actually beat every dungeon before Ganon will even give you the hint.
Right.
Yeah. So that could have been silly. And honestly, the only big like mistake that I made was not doing Escape the first time I was over there checking Uncle stuff.
I mean, we were definitely, when we saw you go over there to get Uncle, we're like, oh man, this is gonna happen right now. He is gonna be, off, and it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, at the same time, even if I had just gotten flippers there, I would have had all of Pod, all of Swamp, all of Ice. I mean, I could have just go-moded all that, and then go-moded GT, I really enjoy the challenge of Swordless. I cannot stand the silvers thing. It's just, I don't know, it's frustrating. I want to play Swordless, but I don't want to have another Ice Rod situation. And the silvers is actually worse than the Ice Rod, because you only need it for one thing right at the end of the game, as opposed to I need this to actually get to like GT and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, especially in hard mode where you can't even use it for the rest of the game. So it's
which isn't a problem. Like I didn't have any trouble this seed. This seed was pretty nice overall. Been getting early blue mail, which helps a lot. The early hammer helped a lot, and some nice potions that came along just at the right time. But
yeah, I mean, I will say you had some really nice fights throughout the seed too. I think in particular that hammer Mothula that you did was quite good.
That was silly. Yeah.
I mean, it was good though, and a few others. So it was fun. I think did Ninban maybe just realize that he walked off, so he may have just realized that he's not going to get the hint without having beat Naga.
Wasn't he watching my casual seed last night when I did that? Then again,
I don't know.
Was it all dungeons? It was. We realized that afterwards, and then I stopped playing because I had a tourney race. Yeah, overall the seed was nice. I really enjoyed that seed. I just didn't believe that there was going to be still another Sphere 1 item. Well, I guess it was technically Sphere 2, since you needed the lamp from King's Tomb. With boots and, well, yeah, so Sphere 2 or whatever, but still, it seemed kind of silly.
Yeah.
And had there been like a key in the back of Escape, it would have been fine. But at the same time, like I don't know when it's swordless and you don't have the silvers, like I don't know when a good time to get go mode is. Or quote unquote go mode. Silverless go mode. Because, there's just way too much variable with silvers in this game mode, so I'm kind of we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this mode. I have another race against Mac and X tomorrow. Well, our first one, but another swordless one tomorrow. So we'll see what my opponents pick. These were all my choices, so I picked this mess. So and so far, both my runs have not been sub 2. But
I mean, to be fair, I think anything, you know, plus minus, well, this was +6, but anything, you know, ±5 on 2 hours for an all dungeon seed, it seems to be par for the course lately. There's just always something, you know, that happens, and at least it wasn't inverted.
Yeah. I'll see if I end up getting inverted from one of my opponents, so maybe Ninban will counter with the inverted. I don't know. This seed was silly. But I'm glad I got that W.
Yeah, GG. It's well played, and I think that puts you at 2-0, right? Yep. So far in groups. So off to a good start. Still a lot of races to go, but always nice to be on the positive side of that early on.
So you know, sorry. I was
just gonna say
Ninban. Ready to talk about Ice Palace yet?
Oh, yeah. let's do that real quick. Though I just want to point out Ninban, unfortunately, just discovering that boomerangs do not stun guards in hard mode. Spending a lot of time throwing that thing at him and hearing it clink. It's a bummer. But yeah, tell us about Ice Palace.
What do you mean?
I was talking to Solsky. I feel like Solsky wanted to talk about Ice Palace.
Yeah, so I guess one of the more fun moments of this race was Ninban was still looking for the hammer. Dipped ice early without the hammer and actually ran out of bombs and couldn't check the big chest. And then we noticed that you were kind of thinking about maybe full clearing ice on your way over and then missed the bomb jump across. And you decided to go mode Ice Palace, so we're like, imagine if silvers are there.
I was planning on go moding it regardless. Yeah. I was kind of like autopiloting when I tried that bomb jump. It was more so just like practice. I might have gone up and checked the hint and then went back down, and I don't know. We'll see. I was like, all right, if I fail this, we'll just go mode. If I don't fail this, we'll see what happens. But at that point, I was just like, I don't really feel like full clearing this. I don't plan on full clearing Swamp either. I'm just gonna hope that it's somewhere in GT, and I'm really glad that it was the big key was in Tower Room, because then there's a good chance that both of us were gonna full clear it. I was considering doing Tower Room since I had 4 keys going in there when I did the route from. For some reason, if you go like Stalfos Room and then go right, and if you enter Tower Room with 4 keys, there's like a higher chance of there being a big key there, because then a lot of the times there's like a small key there just to avoid you, or in case you open up that middle door. But I didn't want to do that because I wanted to check more stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of one of the things about Swordless is when you're looking for silvers, you got to kind of pick and choose your poison if you want to full clear, if you want to go mode. And if Ganon had said it was in Ice Palace, then I would have gone to Ice Palace. And if my opponent had full cleared Ice Palace, it would have been a lot closer, or he would have won. It's just gotta hope for the best.
For sure.
My favorite part was I was going through Kakariko, and right as I entered the tavern, right before I entered, I said, "Give me boots," and then it gave me boots, and then I laughed out loud.
Wow.
It was great.
Wow.
Ooh. But yeah, thank you guys so much for commentating and for tracking. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm gonna lurk. I'm gonna listen to Ninban's interview, and see you guys in the next one.
GG's. Well, GG's again. Have a good one. All right, so Ninban going at this Ganon fight again. Still looking to get that hint. Been struggling quite a bit here. This Ganon hammer fight. It's no joke. Compared, even a very experienced runner, you can come in here with the Master Sword or whatever. you're really, really close to Ganon when you're doing this fight with the hammer. So you know, huge props to anybody who can make it happen on any day, frankly. All right, busting out some pause buffer strats here to try and keep ahead of those bats. Make sure he can react in a timely fashion. So one thing you saw Willard do in his Ganon fight, that Ninban also going for, not quite nailing, unfortunately. There was basically like a 1 or 2 pixel window above Ganon in that far top right warp position where you actually don't get nudged to the left or the right when you hammer down on him. And finding that spot is what let Willard actually one cycle that second phase. So there you go. There is an Ninban tent. It looks okay. Ninban is actually going to try to give us a few swordless hammer hits here on phase 4 Ganon, and now we're done. All right, great. So we'll go get those silver arrows and get this guy taken care of.
All right, going back to Emo's favorite item location here.
There's nothing I love more than a good pedestal seed. I do love them. All right, wisely going to go pick up some potions. We are going to make this Ganon fight happen this time for sure. I believe picking up the 5 rupees for good measure. Wants to make sure that he has all of the coins he needs for the bus home after this fight.
I mean, he just saved all that money on that Kirkland brand silver arrows so definitely can afford it.
Oh, I know, it's such a good deal, and you get so many for the price. The only problem is you've got that huge box to deal with, and it's just a nightmare. You know, no joke though, that Costco brand buffalo mozzarella, that's some good stuff.
I've never heard of that, but I mean,
it's real good.
Different products, right? So
yeah, it's real good. I guess that's true. Yeah, you guys have like Canadian Costco.
Yeah, it's not even real Costco. I guess it's just Canadian Costco.
All right, so Ninban landing on that pixel this time, gonna make quick work of this phase 2. Of course, you go buy the potions, and then everything goes perfectly well, and you don't need them. It's the first law of Link to the Past.
Yeah, you had a really smooth first and second fight, second there for sure.
Yeah, Ninban doing a good job of avoiding getting any of Ganon's rotisserie chickens here on phase 3, making his way into phase 4. Nice triple. Ooh, nice. Baby. I really hope I didn't just create a meme, by the way. I have to punish myself if that happened. I can't be a part of that. If people start saying rotisserie chickens or the croutons, I'm gonna have to quit. All right, well, GG Ninban, who has finished with an official SRL time. Where is it here? 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 46 seconds. Unfortunately, Ninban was unable to stick around for the interview. I believe he had some stuff he had to take care of. We do have some comments for him here. So you got the big oof, as he describes it, on Skullwoods being a red crystal, which actually made him go back before Mirror. Also, as we saw, did not know that Ganon doesn't give you the hint for the silvers until after you complete the goal, which he says is dumb, and I don't disagree. He thinks it was a fun seed. He abused the potions, which means hard sorrowless isn't really his cup of tea. Totally get it. Also, merci beaucoup, Solsky.
You know, I really got to just shout out the community. They've been so embracing, I guess, of me, really just thanking me a lot lately. I'm not quite sure why, but
I have so much to say right now, and I can't say any of it. Good lord! All right, I do want.
I guess that's a wrap up.
Yeah, I feel like there's a whole line of shirts coming out soon. By the way, like Sinipa, Solsky. I don't know. At any rate,
yeah. Let's go.
Okay, well, thank you, Solsky, for commentating this run with me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and thanks for viewers for sticking around and catching the action. I mean, it's a good, I guess it's a good taste of what the tournament has to offer, being a variety of the different mode changes with all dungeons hard and soreless in there, and it was definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And GG's again to our runners who put on a great show and exhibited great skill throughout the run. And yeah, thanks to everybody. With that, I've been Emo Saru, and I will see you guys later.
Bye.